please ready your lecture notes. Not yet. Before I forgot, I need to check how's the progress of the assignment. Everything doing well? Due September 6th. Let me double check one more time. 6th of September. So you have about 1 month times. Please plan your time effectively. Follow the topics as listed there. Today I need to cover whole chapter number 5 about user authentications and access control. This topic not so tough because some of the content we know about it already. That's why some of the part I might go a bit faster so that we can cover the whole chapter. But anyway, if in the meantime, if I'm too fast, there's certain topic that you want me to go through again, please do inform me. Look at the slide. How many slides today we have? Are you opening your PowerPoint? Do you check? Yeah, so you know the number of slides we have today. Only. Some of it is a diagram. Yeah, some slides covers are diagram, and some of the number of slides they repeated. repeated. So I will skip those repeated part. Okay, let's start our lesson today. Objective, we discuss four general means of authentications uses IT. We go a little bit on a hash password, the use of a Bloom filter, token-based, password-based. There are four types that we will cover for user authentications, and then approacher use for remote user authentication. Last part is a summary. So next one, okay, look at uh, definition, the process of verifying an identity claim by a system or system entity. Now, in most computer security context, right, user authentication is the fundamental building block and the primary line of defense. It means that user authentication used in most of the access control. Okay, we need to identify who is the, not say we, I mean the computer system might need to identify the authenticity of the authorized user yet to grant access. So the just like our handphone, everybody have the tools we are using. So the user, of course, first of all, they need to identify themselves to the system. So before we use our smartphone, we have to, let's say we are planning to use thumbprint, we have to introduce, identify ourselves to the system. System might allow us to set, if not mistaken, my time to set 5 times, different angles. Okay, different angles of our thumbprint, or maybe some of the phone with iris recognitions. After that, when we are trying to access the device, might compare the object with the recorded system digital database. If match, then we grant the access. All right. After that, identification step, presenting an identifier to the security system. So this identifier should be assigned carefully to grant access. For verification step, presenting or generating authentication information that might collaborate between what object we use or entity and the identifier itself. So here there are four means, four types, four types authentications of a user authentication based on what we know. Something we know like password, PIN numbers. Second, based on what we have. Okay, what we have, right? Smart card, your key card, physical key. Third one, something, what's the individual is, mean our characteristic, our physical feature, such as our fingerprint, our retina. The last one, dynamic biometric, here is about our behavioral, our pattern, like voice pattern, handwriting or typing rhythms. So these are the four general types to authenticate the user's identity. So now tell me the object or the devices you have, which type that used to identify or to authenticate your identity. Let's say your smartphone, which type you are using. Are you using something you know or using static biometric?
Mm, static.
Static. All right. Some more? Two more friends here. Give me some feedback. Static. Others for Pharaoh and Kelvin. I can't hear you. Hey, is it my speaker problem
in the chat box.
Or I just type on.
in the chat? Let me escape. I have to come out from the meet. Eh, ayo, too slow.
The one that use
Let
pattern,
me
what
check.
which one is it?
Pattern is something you know,
So it's like a password,
static.
same thing, same
Something
category
you
as a
know. Yes,
password. What
yes,
device
correct.
use the dynamic? What device use dynamic bio?
Dynamic voice recognition
No,
to
dynamic
unlock
bio.
phone. Yeah.
No. The dynamic biometric. What device
Bio
use that?
voice pattern. What device? What device use? Handwriting. I would say like digital handwritten devices used in financial institutions. They might need to match our handwriting to make sure you are the authorized person who own certain properties.
Handwriting can ka? Kako.
Can they will match the pattern of handwriting pattern, but also I'm in doubt also lah. I also feel I mean you see the pattern sometimes our signature not every time we have the same size and then but I think they the tools are able to capture the style, the pattern. Yeah, everybody has our own handwritten pattern. I don't know how they I mean record
Yeah.
in a matching. Must be a way lah, right? They use it. Yeah, interesting here. Widely used the okay. Let me go through the slide first. Okay, so the system might compare, let's say we do set password, the system might compare the password to the previous. Of course, we have to store the password first and then do matching. The password might serve to authenticate the user ID matching and allow user to log into the system. The ID security in the following were listed there. First of all, who already have the ID pattern in the system. So means that they already they can allow to gain access. Sorry. So some system might allow guests, mean without your account, allow anonymous account where the user also able to access the system but with limited privilege. Means a limited function they can access if they use anonymous to access. Bad password. Bad password yang tidak bagus. Don't use your name. Don't use your name or Noel full name. Second, don't use those numbers that related to you, such as your birth date, your car plate number, telephone numbers, and then what else? All those types of words that we can found in dictionary. Those are bad password. We will forward, backward. You change the first capital letter and then add one symbol behind. Those are simple password that can be easily cracked. So we look at the secure password here. What is that listed? We always encourage to set at least 5 character, right? With the combinations of lowercase, uppercase, symbols, numbers, and Unicode character. The samples are there, so you can take a look. But make sure you design it and you have to remember. Or else, if you yourself can't remember when you tend to write it down in a piece of paper, that might open a chance to people. I mean, know Next one, password length. Mm, okay, of course, the longer the better, but just make sure you can remember. Longer password are better. So password does not change in 60 days. How many pass I try for each second? 5 characters, 1000 plus, okay, per second. So it means that the people trying to use try and error, brute force test, and we didn't change the password for 60 days. The time required by them to know our password getting lesser and lesser. Somehow, if another secret less chances to be found out, the password will be very high. Next one, we look at the password vulnerability. So means open space for the attacker. So we can identify the following attack strategy. So from this page, actually following slide explaining, you look at my PowerPoint here. So this one, two, three, four, five. Okay, five PowerPoint slide explaining this one. Okay, five PowerPoint slide explaining the content. So I will explain based on here. So you just need to listen. Okay, better you just stay focused and listen to me. Later, after the class, you find your time, you go through, you read the PowerPoint slide. So next, first one, we look at the offline dictionary attack, the first one. Typically, strong access control used to protect our system password file. So the attacker might trying to obtain the system password file compare with the commonly used password. Commonly used password mean they have a list and those words are easily found from dictionary. When it is matched, then the attacker might grant the access to the account. Now, how to countermeasure, how to protect, how to solve it. So we try to, of course, we try to think a way how to prevent unauthorized access to the password files that store in the system. Second, we talk about spatial account attack. The attacker may target the specific account and they may look for which account they want to crack. After that, they start doing their tasks, guessing, try different million types of way until the correct password is discovered. Then how to countermeasure, how to solve this problem? We use a lockout mechanism. Lockout mechanism means if let's say one person trying to attempt the account more than 5 times, the account will be locked. This mechanism also apply to our smartphone. Do you notice that? If let's say you set your PIN number, if not mistaken 3 times, right? If after 3 times cannot access, then your smartphone will be locked. You have to call the service center. You have to answer those questions. Make sure you are the authorized person, the owner of the phone. Then only they will unlock the phone for you. This is what they mean, account lockup mechanism. So next one, we talk about popular password attack. Um, Usually, user right will tend to use a password, which is a easy memory. Whether use the name, the relevant information, name, date of birth, what else? A name, a reverse. But unfortunately, those kinds of a password is actually easy to guess as well. So how to protect this one? How to countermeasure this? We can include the policies or we can not say we lah, I mean the users, the common use password by the users. Hang on, let me rephrase my sentence. Might include the policies to uh, what is it, to based on the user's common password selections, and also might use IP address scanning for authentication requests. All right. Uh, Next one, password guessing against single user. The attacker might attempt to gain knowledge about the account holder. Of course, they might study first who is the person they want to attack. They might get all relevant information, numbers, character for the victims. And then they might use those type of knowledge to guess the correct password. So how to overcome this, how to countermeasure? Make sure try to make the password as difficult to guess. But then uh, you have to think about it. Difficult to guess. How difficult? Is there any method to make it difficult to guess? Yes. Yes, it has. And then also other than make it difficult to guess, you can always remember the length of the password. Make it longer and combinations. As well, also don't forget in a certain time, maybe within 60 days, change every 60 days. Next one, we talk about workstation hijacking. The attacker might try to lock in workstations, or could be say they are waiting. They are waiting to log in to the workstation when it is unattended. So this standard countermeasure is automatically log into the users, automatically log into the user as pretended they are, sorry, automatically log into the workstations as pretend they are the user when the workstation or PC there's certain period inactivity. So mean they are waiting the device inactive. So mean the user is not there. They will take this chance to log in to the device as they are the authorized user. Of course, they study and then they know that they have a series of lists what password they are guessing and they're trying there. Countermeasure automatically log into the workstation after a period of inactive, and then you can apply the intrusion detection. Apply the intrusion detection means for to detect any changes behavior. If let's say usually the user can access a workstation in 1 2 time, but this time the when they capture, when they accept the intrusion pattern difference, okay, the access pattern different to user, then have to alert the user. Exploiting user mistake. When the system assign a password, if let's say we depends on the password manager, or we depends on any of the software assign us a good password, sometimes user might tend to write it down because not easy for us to remember those considered difficult password, right? So on this situation, we are giving a chance the person our written password. Even though a user that we have no intention to share the password, but no, don't forget they are. So mean may review the password unintentionally if we wrote it down somewhere. Some computer system come with a pre-configured password for system administration. If we don't change, then it's guess. So how to countermeasure this? Try to, of course, change the password and also give training to the users, to the computer users. Training to them how to protect their own password, right? Don't write in any way. Next one, we look at the exploiting multiple password use. Attacker nowadays, they are getting more and more expert. Of course, right? Times go with the lot hardware, software, new hardware and software helped. So they are getting more effective in damaging, in cracking the password. So this, what is it? If they able to access unauthorizedly to one device, multi-password here means user nowadays, not say nowadays lah, some user they try to use the same password for different devices. So this might give a chance to the attacker. Once they access to the network, once they access one of your device, they might use a similar password for your other devices. So how to countermeasure? Try for not using the similar password to all your devices. Okay, which one I miss out here? Electronic monitoring. Electronic monitoring. Here talking about eavesdropping. Still remember what is a eavesdropper? So in this case, it's hard to countermeasure because a simple encryption might not able to solve the problem. If the insecure network is vulnerable to the eavesdropper. So the following slide explaining the diagram that we discussed just now. So this one, I leave it to you. Next one, we look at the password hashing. Look at the slide there. Hash algorithm are one-way function. They turn any amounts of data into fixed length that cannot be reversed. They also have the property that if the input change by even a tiny bit, the result hash is completely different. So this used to protecting the password, right? But however, the hash password itself are not unique due to the nature of the hash function. Why does it mean? Okay, before that, we look at the second bullet. Okay, with the hash algorithm, hash functions with different input, you look at the results are different. But there is a cons. What is the cons here? Later, I tell you what is the. There are always advantages and disadvantages. Um, so if let's say two different users, they provide the same input, right? If two different users provide the same input, actually by using based on the deterministic nature of the hash function, the same output is always produced, right? So if let's say Alice and Bob lah, always we use the same name. Alice and Bob, they use the same password ABCD. No, not ABCD lah, certain term as a password. The hash generated will be the same. How to solve it? That's why come with the salt value. Okay, that's why come with the salt value. So what is this about? The three purposes as I listed. Okay, you can maybe I give you 1 minute. You go through the three purposes. Okay. So now they are listed three purposes there. From the explanation, quite clear. So why does it need the hash password? Why does it need to add salt value? Because for two different hash functions, they can produce the same uh, hash passwords. So even though, no, not say even though, but produce the same password. That's why to overcome the risk, the password need to add in the salt value first. First purpose, prevent duplicate password from being visible in the password file, even if two users choose the password. Supposingly, when same password, they come out with same hash function. But now, when the password assigned with different salt value, the hash password will be different totally. So overcome the risk of guessing. So this salt is a value that generated by a cryptographical secure function that added to the input of the hash functions that might create the unique hash password for every, even though same input. Okay, even though the input is not unique, it's the same, but after add in the salt value, the result, the throughout applications of the hash function are unique. Okay, what does it? This cryptographic soul is make up a random bits added to the password before hashing. So this salt value might create a unique password, even though, again, even though two different users using the same password. This hashing a password with salt value is quick and easy to use. Greatly increase the difficulty of an offline dictionary attack. Yeah, as I mentioned, all those words that can be found in the dictionary are easy to be attacked. So when they add on the salt value, increase the difficulty in guessing. Next one, become nearly impossible to find out whether a person with password or two or more system has used the same password because every timer might apply different unique hash value. That's why even though password is the same, but throughout, even though input is the same, but applicable to the hash function, the output, the hash is unique. So next one, so here, okay, here shows the Unix password security technique. Okay, this one I leave it to you. So in general, when a user attempt to log into the Unix system, the user need to provide ID and password. This is what we always, any system is the same. So the operating system might use the ID to index with the password files. After that, the salt and the user password are used as an input to the encryption routine. If the result matching, then the password is acceptable. Next one, the original scheme and then the upgraded version. How about improved implementations? Okay, become much more stronger. Yeah, improvement from when apply the hash with the salt scheme. This is the explaining, talking the same. Yeah, we look at this password cracking. So four types here. The traditional approach to password guessing, or sometimes we call password cracking. We call it password guessing or password cracking. Most of the time, the attacker, they have a large dictionary, a list of dictionary words, all possible combinations of password, and they try to, of course, they try each of these with their password file. They try all the possible matching files. So this means that each password must be hashed using salt value in the password files and then compared to the store hash value. If no matching found, then the cracking program will try different variations from the dictionary. So the variation also including could be After forward and then they backward again the spelling. Or maybe they will try to add on spatial character, or they might also changing the sequence of the character. In the approach, the attacker generate a large dictionary of a possible password. For each password, the attacker might generate the hash values associated with all the possible sort value. They're talking again the same thing. Okay, what else? Let me look at the notes again. Mm, password length. Hang on, my mouse not working. Okay, the one we talked about here just now, large dictionary, possible. Try each against a password file. Um, so most of the time, user trying to choose on password, but again, if we are using referring to our name or information related to us, this might make the password cracking system become straightforward. You try to avoid that, right? So John the Ripper is an open source password cracker first developed in 1996. Uses combinations of a brute force and dictionary technique. Modern approach. Complex password policy. Force user to pick strongly password. Some of the system they already assign them must have add digit or maybe must have add character including capital letter, small letter, and symbol. This is how they force user to choose a stronger password. All right. Um, but we understand that computer nowadays, the technology getting advanced. The password cracking program is actually work more and more faster and with advanced technology. See here, processing capacity available for password cracking has increased dramatically. The use of a sophisticated algorithm to generate potential password. Studying examples and structure of actual password in use. Perhaps previous time only use brute force, but slowly come in algorithm, right? Come in different pattern, different structure in guessing the password. So mean getting improved. So the way how we set up our password also we have to change already. This is a type of analysis for how many students here? 25,000 students in one of the university. What is the result shown? The graph shown the percentage of a password that have been recovered by number of guessing. How many guess? 10 raised to 7, 10, 10, 10, 13. And more than 40% password are guessed successfully. Do you see that? This is a samples. Nearly one-fourth of the password were guessed using the following strategy there. First one, based on user's name, account name, what else? Numbers, place name, common name, female name. They try type of password. They try all these strategy. So if can found it here means please change. Password file access control. Okay, colorful diagram. Please take a look here. For one way to avoid the password attack, of course, we have to set our password properly and also have to deny, not say deny, so deny opponent access. If the hash password portion of the file is accessible only by privileged user, then the opponent cannot read without, if they are not the privileged user, they cannot access. The hash password keep in a separate files from the user's ID. We refer it as a shadow password file. Okay, the one here. Mm, okay, many system, in many system, the hacker might try to, of course, they use software lah, software to bypass the access control system without going through the authentications. The hacker might also try to find out the weaknesses of the system. Okay, this part, the first one, in my pointer here. Okay, this one, weaknesses in the OS that allow access to the files. So they will find the weaknesses of the computer system or database management system will allow them to access the file. Second, talk about an accidents of permission might mean we accidentally open password for accidentally allow permission, allow access to our to the files, then unintentionally might compromise all our accounts. Third one, some user trying to use spam password with different system. If one password can be read by attacker, then another machine might also be compromised. So please take note this one. Sometimes there is a backup to the password file on emergency repair disk. Access to the backup enable to attacker to read the password files. So instead of capturing the system password file, approach, eh, another approach to collecting users' ID and password through sniffing. Okay, sniffing network traffic. This one we cover in chapter number 2 before. Password selection technique. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 techniques here. Sometimes the user tends to choose password that's short or too easy to remember. So the goal for this technique is to eliminate guessable password. Not only eliminate guessable password, but also allow we set the password is memorable. Difficult password, but yet memorable. So 4 basic technique used here. User educations. So we need to understand how importance of using the hard to guess password and provided guideline. So what is a guideline of setting up the strong password? You can use you have a phrase, but the phrase not that um, let's say your phrase is an apple a day. What is that? Uh, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So this is a well-known phrase. So we don't use this. Use those phrases that are not easily guessed. Let's say my dog name is what. So you give a special name of it. So after that, you take the first letter from each words of the phrase. Somehow you add in numbers or symbols to your phrase. Make it harder to be guessed, right? Mm, computer generated password could be also a problem if the password are too random, too odds. User might has difficulty in remembering, even though the password is pronounceable, but not it could be hard for the user to difficult for user to remember. Okay. A reactive password checking strategy is one which a system periodically run is on password cracker to find a guessable password. The system might cancel any password that are guessed and might notify the users. In a proactive password checker, user is allowed to select their own password. However, at the time of a selection, the system might check if the password is allowable. If no, then they may reject. The checker might base on the philosophy whether the password created is a memorable password or does it be difficult enough to be guessed. Okay, have to far from dictionary words. That's mean. Next one, proactive password cracking. Mm, okay, the the rules with proactive password checker here is to get the balance between the strength of the password and the user accessibility or the user acceptability. If the system reject too many passwords, user might complain because usually the one that we propose is the one we can remember. If the system keep on rejected towards the end, the the password display will be too hard for us to remember. If the system uses some simple algorithm to define what is acceptable, then this might also provide the guidance to the attacker or the cracker to guess those passwords as well. So rule enforcement, this part, password must be at least 8 character long. Okay, special rule that password that adhere at least 8 character long. And then again, the password must consist of uppercase, lowercase, numbers, symbols, punctuations, marks. We how to say we educate. I mean we know that, but sometimes we are not practicing it. Do you agree? Are you apply it to yours password? No need tell me. So you understand and try to apply it. All right. Um, Another possible procedures here is what is it? User tends to use bad password. Bad password mean combinations of easily guess words from dictionary. So those kind of a password, the system check my disapprove lah, my disapprove those type of a bad password. So here talk about password checking and the calculations of hex functions with the size of the dictionary. Okay, performance. Token-based authentications. Okay, we look at the next one. Token-based here referring to the object that users have for the purpose of authentication we call token. Let's say we have a ATM card. That is our token. That is the object we have for our account verification for to or say to prove I'm the authorized person. That's what we call token here. So given card type, features, and examples. You look at the memory card. I believe everyone know what is memory card, right? So memory card not only store um, hang on, let me rephrase. Memory card can store data, but cannot process data. So examples of a memory card here, like your credit cards, right? ATM cards. What else can be used for physical access, like a hotel room? This type of card, right, can store data and also required inexpensive card reader, means easy to apply, and the card reader also inexpensive. This one memory card include internal electronic memory. So memory card here, as mentioned just now, can be used for physical access. How about the other one? ATM card also, also under memory card. So this memory card, when combined with the PIN number or password, might provide more security or greater security than password alone. Of course, right? The more layer you have, the more secure is it. But what is the drawback here? The drawback, even though purchasing the card reader is not too expensive, but still you need to spend some cost there. Second, how about if the token lost? If the token lost, you lost your card, then someone may access your room, your hotel room. Next one, drawback is about user dissatisfactions. Although user may have no difficulty in accepting the usage of a memory card for the usage of ATM machine, but it might need computer access. Some people will say, "Ah, yeah, so inconvenient. I have to go to the certain places with the machines." Right? This is a drawback lah. When using memory cards. Of course, there are still some other drawbacks. Next one, we look at the smart tokens. This can be categorized in three dimensions: physical characteristic, interface, and authentications protocol. This smart token include embedded processor, look like the bank card, can look like calculator, key, small portable object. What is this interface? Interface must be compatible with the reader. Authentication protocol used with the smart token into three category there. Static is about um, with the static protocol, the user authenticate themselves to the token, and then the token might authenticate the users to the computer. This is what they call it, static. For dynamic password generator, the token might generate the unique password periodically, mean every minute will be different. So this password will then enter to the computer system for authentications. For challenge response, the computer system might generate random string number for verifications. Smart card. Okay, allow me to have another 10 plus slide before we take a break. So for smart card, most important category of smart card here, sorry, most important category of smart token is smart card. Example, credit cards. Okay, you see here some of the content are actually repeated, so I will go through briefly. So smart card contain a microprocessor, contain processor, memory. So typical smart card might include three types of memory here. Read-only memory, store data that does not change during the card's life. For example, the card holder's name, the owner's name, and the card number will not change. That's a read-only memory. For electrically erasable programmable ROM, EEPROM, whole applications data and program, such as the data might vary with times. Different time could be different. For example, telephone cards. So the talk time, remaining talk time will be different all the time. Next, random access memory might hold temporary data generated when the application are executed. So this diagram illustrates the typical interactions between smart card and also smart card or reader with the computer system. Electronic identity cards. This important. The applications of a smart card is important when we use it as a national identity cards. Just like similar to driving license, this one driving license can identify the authenticity of the users. This EID, electronic identity card, is a type of a smart card that has been verified by the national government as a valid and authentic. That's why used for our IC lah. The most advanced electronic identity card here, identity card deployment is the German EID cards, which include personal data, document numbers, card access number, and machine readable zone. So the CAN, the card access number, sorry, the card access number and a machine readable zone, these both are served as a password. Personal data, just like the name, the date of birth, the address. Document number will be the number for the cards. Okay, access number and a readable zone will be the password lah, to verify the card numbers. So next one, we look at table 3.3 here. What is this about? Electronic functions and data for EID cards. Okay, with the shortcut key here. So the function with the purposes and the usage listed in the table. Next one, user authentication is user authentication with the EID. Okay, this diagram. User authentication is a good example for online use of electronic ID function. So this diagram shows the web-based scenarios on how the first user might send the request followed by service request and then number 3, number 4. Okay, this is a sequence. Next one, PACE, password authenticated connection establishment. To this is used to ensure the contactless radio frequency chips in the electronic ID card. Okay, using different technologies. Biometric authentications. Okay, can we take a break? We come back and continue biometric authentications.
Okay.
All right. Later we continue. Biometric authentication, not so tough. Let's have a 10 minutes break. We cannot have too long. Cannot finish. 2:10, we come back. Thank you, everyone. Let's come back to the class. Three of you here.
Yeah.
Raise your hand. Ah,
Yeah.
okay. One more. Kelvin. Here. Tomorrow is a public holiday, right? Replacement on Thursday, 11 to 12 tutorial. Let's continue. Biometric authentications. Biometric authentication system to authenticate an individuals based on their physical, based on their unique physical characteristics. Unique, so everybody are different. This includes static characteristics such as, let's say, your fingerprints, hand geometric, facial characteristics, and retinal or iris patterns. Dynamic characteristics here such as a voice pattern, handwriting, signature. So this might compare to the password and token. Biometric authentication is both technically complex and also expensive. Okay, complex and expensive. So the most commons are the following: facial characteristics. Some smartphone with other than fingerprint also recognize facial characteristics or face recognition system. So hand geometry, retinal, iris signature, and also voice. So we look at this is rough, not say rough. This diagram indicates comparing the cost and the accuracy of using biometric measurement. So we look at here the cost. The highest is iris and accuracy also the highest. Cost of a voice recognition cheaper and accuracy also cheaper. Next diagram here, operations of a biometric system. For biometric system, the user might present a name and typically with also the password or PIN to the system. So at the same time, the system might sense the biometric characteristic of the users, comparing with the password or PIN, and assign assess. Okay, assign the assessment, not say assessment, the authorized, what they call it? Authorized assessment. Assessment is penilaian, right? Authorized usage. Hang on, come back to here. The system might digitize, digitize the input and then might extract the feature that's stored in the system with the individual's unique biometric characteristics. So this digitized data might need to compare with the system database. Next one, we look at the graph here. In general, there are false match also. Bahagian, the one that shattered area. Okay, shattered area, they are false matching is possible, means not 100% accuracy. So this graph showing the false match versus the false non-match red. They call it operating characteristic curve. For iris system, yeah, you look at this one symbol. For iris system, no false match. You see here is 100%. This is a 0. So iris system, no false match in over how many here? About 2 million cross comparisons. However, for the face biometric, okay, face biometric, false match, 0. This one, still okay. But over a broad range of a false match rate, the face biometric is the worst performance overall. Paling tinggi. Okay, the one that at the highest level. Face recognition. Why? Why face recognition the worst performance? Mm, can our face feature change? Yes, can. That's why the highest false match rate. Must be the reason. What do you think? Kenapa? Why face geometry or face biometric is the worst with the highest false match rate? Anyone?
Maybe it's hard for the camera to detect the face, I think.
Mm, yeah, maybe our face sometimes you if you don't smile like this, if you senyum like this, ketawa lain pula, maybe right? How about Noel and Kevin? What's your opinion?
Uh, like as we time pass by, our face will change.
Yeah, time passed by, our change, berkedut, isn't it? And slightly different. Have to depend how sensitive of the device to trace it. Kelvin, you have opinion or not?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Just over time,
Over,
the face change.
then you have to use the time defense. What's that? Time defense cream. Next one, we look at the examples of a static biometric and also dynamic biometric protocol. Next one, remote users authentications. Might increase additional security threat here, such as eavesdropper. They might be able to capture the password. How about this one? Remote user authentication is a mechanism in which the remote server might verify the legitimacy of the users. Since this is a remote, I mean they need to verify when they need to verify the authenticity of the user over the insecure communications channels. So they have 4 basic challenge response protocol for remote user authentication. First number here, protocol for password, for token, static biometric, and also dynamic biometric. So the following slide is explaining each one of them. So this explanation, okay, protocols for password, this explanation refer to this one. Okay, the first diagram here. So provide the simple examples of a challenge response protocol for authentication via password here. So you have to look at the users send over, and then the host um, might store not only the password but also the hash codes. Okay, hash codes and the functions. I explain to you here this part. So you please refer your diagram there. The actual protocol could be more complex, but from our diagram here, the user first might transmit her identity to the remote host. Okay, this one to the remote host. And the host might generate a random number. Random number here is a R. They use R to show. This random number called nonce. Do they put it here? Nonce. This random number might return to the users. The host might specify 2 functions here, H and also F, to be used in the response. The transmission from the host to the users also a challenge because can be interrupt intrusion by the eavesdropper. So the function hash is a hash. Wait, hash this one. Hash functions. So that the response consists of the hash functions of the user password combined with the random number using the provided hash. This one is under protocols for the password. So the host here might store not only the password, but also the hash codes. Okay, also the hash code for the password. So this might secure the password from intruders into the host system. This is a general explanation on the first one. Challenge response authentication. So the goal here, Bob's want Alice to prove her identity to him. So Alice will say, I am Alice. How? So Bob cannot see Alice. So Trudy simply declare herself to be Alice. So here Trudy will say he is Alice instead of she is Alice instead of the real Alice here. So Alice say I'm Alice in the IP package containing her source IP address. But Trudy also can do the same. Right? Can you see the difference here? So next one. Alice say I'm Alice and send the secret password to prove it. Playback attack. Playback means a retransmission of the content. So Trudy records Alice packet and then later send it back to Bob. Alice say I'm Alice and send encrypted secret password to prove it. Will it be failure? How about record and playback still works? So mean not so secure. Yet another try again. So this time, to avoid playback attack, playback again is a retransmissions of the packet. So none's keyword is here, none's use only once in a lifetime. Cannot use second time. So to prove Alice, Bob sent Alice nones. Alice must return R encrypted with share secret key. So Alice is live and only Alice knows the key to encrypt the nuns. So it must be Alice because the nuns can only use once. Second time cannot be used. It will be as a fault value. So can we authenticate using public key technique? Use nonce public key cryptography. So Bob compute public key with the nonce knows only Alice could have the private key that can encrypt the R. So overall is explaining about other than sending the message might also include the can be used once in a lifetime nonce, private key and also public key. Next one, we look at the protocol for a token. So this one explaining the second one, the B, this one. Okay, protocol for token. Simple examples for token means use token for authentication, but when add on the word protocol becomes so different already. So use token for authentication. So as before, a user first might transmit his or her identity to the remote host. The host might return the random number R and the identifier. Okay, identifier of the functions F and also hash. So at the user end, the token provide the password The token could be either static password or also could be one-time random password. This part. For a one-time random password, the token must be synchronized with the host. Okay, the password is shared only between the users, and the token does not involve the remote host, means only on the client side. So for the static password, the host might store the hash value. The host might generate the one-time passcode and then take the hash value, authentication, and then we'll proceed as the same pattern again. So next one, we look at protocol for static biometric. Again, look at the diagram in the previous slide. If you want to look at this table, also can, because showing the same thing. Is it that one using diagram, one using table? So user authentication using a dynamic biometric. The principal difference from stable biometric is that the host might provide a random sequence as well as the random number. The human, the user at the client end must then vocalize if using dynamic biometric, example by voice recognition, vocalize for speaker verifications, or maybe from typing patterns or handwriting verifications. The sequence used to generate the biometric signal. Then the client side might encrypt the biometric signal. At the host side, the incoming message will be decrypted, and then a comparison need to be done before the user is able to be authenticated. Summarize the principal attack on user authentications. Here broken down by type of authenticator. Okay, type of attack, authenticators, examples, and typical defenses. Next one, I have to speed up. Sudah cepat, tidak cukup cepat. How? I wonder how fast they can do. 2:30 already. Okay, now this diagram, user authentication security issues, they split to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 issues involved here. The host attack, this one, directed at the user file at the host where password, token password, or biometric template are stored. So for token, there is an additional defense of using one-time password. The the passcode not stored in the host passcode file. Biometric features of the user are difficult to secure because they are the physical feature of the users. However, for the static feature, biometric device authentication can be add on the protection to the measurements. Dynamic feature might enhance the security. For eavesdropping, let me look at the explanations here. Refer to the attention to learn the password by observing the channels, the communication channel. So this one we learned before, so I skip to denial of service. Remember denial of service, the type of attack might disable the user authentication service. They might flooding the service with numerous authentication attempts. Okay, Trojan horse is a types of applications or is it to masquerade as an authentic application or device with the purpose of capturing the user password. Just like they are the legitimate software, but they are use it, they hide it, very clever. They want to capture the user password from the computer system. Okay, and then replay again is about retransmission. Okay, capture user response and retransmissions of a packet. This one we done so far. Okay, we done all this topic. Please focus on biometric authentications. And then different, they have 4 main authentications. Password, 4 category, 4 main category. Password based, token based, biometrics, remote user. Big topic there. We have a one small topic behind. Okay, one more topic. So this is about access control. Some are repeated. What is the principle of this? For all the computer security, the major concern is access control. So the following slide will be more, we will learn in more specific the concept of access control. Access control here implements a security policy that to specify who can access and also what can be accessed, what file or object can be accessed. So examples of access control here, speed to social network, access control to operating system, and even to the firewall. So this diagram shows a broader context of access control, involve the following entities and functions. So access control involve authenticity. Authenticity here means verify the credentials or the legitimate users. Right, that's for authentication. And then audit here means independent review and examinations of system records and activity. In order to test the adequacy of the system control to ensure the compliance of the policies and also the operations procedures, audit here used to detect the security and recommend any indicated changes in control policy as well the procedures to the organizations. So the access control here, you look at the diagram, this mechanism, access control could be the middle part, mediates between users and also the system resources. System resources here such as applications, operating system, firewall, files, or even database. So the authentications used to determine whether the user is allowed to access the system resources. Okay, the access control function might determine if the specific request by the user is permitted, mean whether allowed or not allowed. Next one, we look at access control policy. This one have to understand. Access control policy dictate what type of access are permitted. There are 4 types of access control here. 4 jenis. What are the 4 here? DSC, MSC, RBSC, and ABSC. So unique the name. This type of access control policy to determine what type of access are permitted, under what circumstances, and by whom. Access control policy generally grouped to the following categories. So the first one, DSC, discretionary access control, based on the identity of the requester. Means siapa orang yang request. Okay, identity of the requester and what requester are allowed to do. Okay, stated what requester are allowed to do. So this is DSC. How about MAC, mandatory access control, to indicate how sensitive of the system resources are and to indicate the system entity are eligible to access certain resources. Okay, it means who is the requester and how sensitive of the system resources. Which part can be accessed by public? If too sensitive, might be permitted or allowed to be accessed by certain levels of the users. Role-based is one more easy to understand. Mean what role of the user? Apakah peranan? What's role that the users have within the system? Where allowed them to access? Attribute here means control access based on attribute of the user, the resource to be accessed and current environmental conditions. Mean could be changed. Okay, previously could it be base rule? Okay, these four they are not mutually exclusive. These four policy they are not mutually exclusive. Mutually exclusive mean independent. These four no, some can be combined. Some access control mechanism can employ two or even up to three different policies together. Mean apply role-based, attribute, and disciplinary combinations. So among the four, discretionary DSC is a traditional method to implement the access control. Okay, based on who is the requester and what they can access. Basic elements of access control up to three: subject, object, and also the access right. Subject here, entity capable of accessing object. Who are they? If they are the owner of the resources, of course they can access, right? If they are the owner or they are the creator of the resources, they of course they will serve as a system administrator and they have the ownership. Group, in addition to the privilege assigned to the owner with their group members. World is about, this is a least amount of access to be granted to the users who are access to the system. They are not included under the owner and also not in the group. Next one, we look at the object. It's a resource to which access is controlled. Examples includes, it means that what type of object they can access. Can they access a certain record, certain files, or maybe portion of the files? Which directory they can access? Which program or which message they can access? Is under object. Access right might describe the way in which the subject might access an object. So access right might include the following. This one should be understandable. Can they read? Can they write? Can they execute? Can they delete, create, or search the system resources? So the following again, they repeated. They're explaining DAC, the one that I highlighted, you can take a look, based on the identity of the requester. Okay, this one widely implemented in most operating systems. Okay, second slide. Here, often use access control metrics. This one is an access control matrix. So mean they put it in a table form, easy to view from here. From here, this is a simple examples of access matrix. User A on file, we can look here, just like how we read our matrix. User A on read write file 1. For file 3, user A can on, can read, can write. So user B can read file 1 but cannot write file 1. So and so on. DAC in a popular operating system. So for Windows PC, we can see the properties. Okay, the permission right listed here. MSC, control access based on security level here. How sensitive of the resources and who is eligible to access certain resources. Yeah, this is the main explanation here. So for administrator, of course, they are assigned the access. Unlike the DAC, user cannot override or modify these policies. So they are slightly different to the DAC just now. This one show the concept and the feature that should be supported by access control system. Reliable input, support for fine and cost specification, least privilege, separations of a duty. Okay, this requirement, I leave it to you. Always get back to me if you have questions. So this one showing the same access control. Using access control matrix, they shows it based on subject, object, and access right. We already covered this one, remember just now? Subject, object, access right here. Okay, we already done. So one is in a diagram, another one is in explanations. So in more detail, they are explaining. This one access control diagram, access control matrix, usually sparse and implemented whether by column or by row. Left hand side by column. By column means who they will arrange files here. Who is a user? By row, user will be in rows, column will be files. What types of files? Access control method, access control list. So there's a column and also row. So both has its own advantages and disadvantages. If by column advantages easy to determine who can access a given object. You look at here, easy to determine. This file, A can do this, B can read, C can read and write. What about disadvantage? Difficult to know the access right by given subject. Difficult to revoke a user's right on all objects. By row, easy to know the access right, but the disadvantages here, difficult to know who can access the given object. Of course, from the matrix we draw, we can view it easily. We can only less object and files. But in real world, there will be huge numbers, columns and rows. Authorizations table for files. This is how they read the subject A, what access mode, and what object they can access. Extended access control matrix. Okay, different way in drawing. So just now files and also the object in rows and columns, right? This is extended version. RBAC, role-based access control. Authorizations on role or functions that are assigned to the user within the organizations. The determinations of what roles have access to the resources can be governed by the owner of the data. Each role has its own access capability. This one can be right? Understandable based on what roles they are in the project. So we look at the diagram here. Traditional DSC system might define the access right to the individual users and group of the user. But for RBSC, the role based on the roles of the users in the system, okay, what role they are playing. Role A, they can access this resource. Okay, what role, what functions within the organization, and then which access right is assigned. Do you understand this? Can you understand this? Different user, they have different role. If a role one, they can access these resources. If they're playing another role, they can access more, something like this, based on what role they are playing. Okay, same thing, explaining the role-based access control. Oops, no, same, because backward. The relationship could be many to many. Okay, one to many, many to many. Showing in a matrix representations here. Use the access matrix to show the key element in the role-based system. Okay. Reference model. Okay, explain the role-based matrix in the previous page. The wide variety of functions and services can be included under the role-based approach. There are more relationship being performed here. Reference model, this is an explanation for the diagram. Okay, please go through with it. Okay, all the explanation are there. Next one, we look at scope. Okay, tidak payah. This one. This is a role hierarchy reflecting the structures, the hierarchy structure in an organization. I believe you ever learn this hierarchy relationship, whether in your programming or mathematics courses. Typically, job function with greater responsibility have the greater authority to access resources. Okay, we agree on that. The more roles play, the greater responsibility you have, the greater authority you have. The subordinate job function, okay, the one below, may have a subset of the access right for the job functions. So this role hierarchy might make use of the concept of inheritance to enable one row to implicitly include the access rights associated with the subordinate rows. Clear, right? Constraint. Constraints to row base. Okay, a defined relationship among rows or a condition related to could be mutually exclusive row are rows such that the user can be assigned to only one row in a set. This is what they call it, mutually exclusive row, cannot be overlapping. For cardinality here refer to the setting a maximum numbers of a user that can be assigned to the given row. What is the maximum numbers of a user allowed to access to the system resource? Prerequisite here to show that it means the user can only be assigned to particular rows. Okay, three types here, three constraints. Okay, summary. So this part for the second part in chapter number 5, please understand the differentiation between DSC, MSC, and also row-based. That's all for chapter number 5. So sorry, this chapter we have a lot to cover. Look like a lot, but a lot of the slides are repeated. I hope this is not too burden to you. Please spend your time to go through the slide again. If you need to make your own brief note, please do so. Like you look at, I assigned you phase tend to change, or the previous question, right? Use password manager apps, yes. Do you ever think of the password manager apps compromise? Then all will be gone. Everything has pros and cons, right? Tutorial 5, describe four means, principles of threats. Let me go through, describe 2 technique and then 4 technique to selecting assigned password. Great that this chapter we don't have any, like what we have previous 2 chapters. We don't have any calculation, right? Mostly understanding only. The ABC, describe 4 types of entity. All this you can get it from the notes. Okay, discuss the function. Please try this one. You have a Tuesday, Wednesday. You have a 2 days. 2 days for 16 questions. I did assign you. Please give yourself a break. I mean, after the class, you rest first. Today, no need to homework. Tomorrow, you do. Tomorrow, public holiday. Tomorrow, our Muharram. When you're absorbing too much in your brain, if me, my brain just like stuck, cannot think anymore. Like after each class, I have to rest few minutes to refresh my brain. Same lah. I believe you all also the same. This one entitled document. This is for your. I prepared the document for you so that you have some. You have a Google Doc. You can write your answer here before paste it to the solution. Kelvin, I want to see your answer here. Kelvin, previous 2 tutorial, I didn't see your name. I only saw Noel's and Pharaoh's answer. Boleh kah, Kelvin? Even though answer could be the same because it's a theory question, but place in your name and your answer there. No reply from Kelvin.
Oh, he put in the chat.
Yeah, so yeah, that's why I will suggest you after my class you rest first. I mean, don't touch on the exercise yet. Our brain, when absorb too much, cannot digest. Not only you, myself also the same. Yeah, I understand. So you don't have to push it too hard. You rest. If possible, if you don't have any urgence or I mean submission, you can just turn off your computer. Tonight after dinner, when you have a good rest after that, then only you continue your go through the notes again. Okay? Why don't see it, Kelvin? If you didn't answer, you will not know how much you understand. If you look at the question, you have macam tidak pernah nampak itu soalan. It means you totally blank. Tidak boleh, cannot. You must answer. So sad when I saw your message they didn't see to point the answer. If you didn't answer, you might not, your brain will not digest, will not process. Oh, why need to put it there? Put it there to show your name there. That means you already do your job. Just means that you do your homework lah. Then you maybe you put your answer there first. Because always Noels and Farrell first two-person place in answer, right, Kelvin? So this round you go first. You place in first. When Noel, Kelvin saw, then they will let you. And they don't have to always, they are the same person who plays in the answer. Right? Take turns, take turns. Boleh gak, Kelvin? So you place answer first. Okay, lo. By fault, yeah. To show that all the students are contribute. I know all of you, three of you are hardworking. Yeah, no worry. But hey lah, you put answer first. That's all from me today. Okay, give yourself a break before get back to the tutorial again. You don't have class after me, right?
Good.
Got.
Got then cannot, tidak boleh. 4 o'clock. So 1 hour tea break. Yeah, 1 hour tea break, then continue your class. So I will meet you on Thursday, 11 to 12.
Okay, Miss.
That's all from me. Thank you, three of you. So
Okay, Miss.
fast,
Thank you.
Kelvin left the meeting. Bye.